Welcome to Fire Moment, a ministry of Fresh Fire Church in Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Today you will hear a fresh word from the Lord given from the throne of grace. As you watch today, our prayer is that the fire of God would burn inside of you and ignite His presence in your life. Stay tuned after the word for ways to connect with Fresh Fire Church. And now, today's Fire Moment.
All right, welcome to Fire Moment, everybody. Thanks for being here on the program. It's Wednesday already, and what a great week on the program it's been already. I've just enjoyed us addressing some of your questions and then also getting some of the word in. And let's begin today with this question, and there's a lot of detail to this one, Pastor Donnie. So we'll see how far we get with it, but we want to answer it thoroughly. This one is interesting. It says, Pastor Adam, and this comes from Jason K. in Alexandria, Virginia. It says, I see all that you do in your community, church, and other ministries that you lead. How do you do it? What can we do to support and help our pastor? As sheep and even as leaders to the pastor, what should we keep in mind to serve and assist them?
Wow. First of all,
Yeah.
I just want to say, is it Jason?
Yeah, Jason.
I just want to say, Jason, it's a great question, and I appreciate your heart to want to support and serve your pastor. I see his heart in it,
Yeah.
and that he wants to do all that he can. And obviously, there are others around him that want to do the same. So first off the bat, I just want to say thank you. Pastors need more people like that around them that are asking the question, what can I do more?
Mm-hmm.
What's the old 80-20 principle that 80% of the work in the church is done by 20% of the people?
Right.
So the church needs more people saying, what can I do, Pastor? What can I do? How can I fulfill this vision?
Yeah.
And so first, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of times people will ask that question, or they'll talk to the pastor and they'll say, hey, what can I do? But they really don't mean it, because then you give them something to do and it doesn't get done. Or you have people say, oh, I'll do anything you need me to do. And then you tell them, well, okay, well, we need this accomplished, be here at this time. And then you look around and you wonder where they are. And so that happens a lot. And so number one, I would say, if you really want to help them, be sincere. Don't mislead your leadership. Don't tell them that you're willing to do or available to help and then not follow through. I mean, because for leadership and as pastors, there's so many other things going on that when we can't trust that it's going to be followed through with, or we can't entrust that, once we hand that over, it's going to be accomplished, even if it's not a direct turnaround, just as long as that we know it's being worked on.
Sure.
But there's usually so many other things going on in our minds. So I would say first, sincerity. And I know it sounds like you're sincere, but a lot of people do that too. So I'm not saying that you're not. I'm just saying that a lot of times people ask the question and then there's no follow through. That's really important. Also, we need to just understand, Pastor Donnie, I think people forget that pastors, man or woman, or no matter how long they've been in it, they're human too.
Pastors are people.
They've got to have time outside of ministry. Pastor, I think back to a recent time I was just kind of unloading, and I said, and I just went through, and I said, and I basically, my words, I'm just going to be transparent, were, I have no life. Everything I do is ministry. Every part of my life is consumed by it. I have to worry about the message. I have to worry, I'm thinking about Fire Moment things. We're leading Revival Fire Fellowship. So every moment of my day is full of making a decision, thinking, and then if there's something not right, then I got to figure that out, and then it's just looking ahead. Then it's saying, okay, here's the finances, and okay, we need X amount of dollars. So it's, there's a constant, everything is constantly in your mind, even though you have a treasurer, even though you have other leaders, it all still comes back to you.
Sure.
And so, we've got to understand that the pastors are human, and they need time just to be who they are. Believe it or not, there's times I just want to be Adam, and there's times I just want to not have to answer a question. There's times I don't want to have to, give a counseling session or, be a theologian. That, I like, personally, if people could understand that, the evening, especially if a pastor has a family, let them be with their family.
Yeah. Agreed.
If it's an emergency, that's one thing, and pastors want to know. But other than that we've got to understand they're human and they're people. And there's so much we could say to this topic, but we are. I'm single, but I still, just because I'm single doesn't mean I want to fill all my time with ministry.
Exactly.
It's exhausting.
Well, and maybe one day we need to do a show on that. But that's a downfall of the church. One of we see single people as people that are available 24 hours a day and have no life. They can do everything for the church.
Yeah.
Well, no, because
Right.
they're people too, and they have they have needs. They
Yes.
they have to make those connections for themselves too. And so whether a pastor is single or whether they have a family or even if they're just married and don't have any children, they still need that time when they can change. And that is why, first of all, I believe a pastor should always have a Sabbath
Yes.
because they're constantly pouring out and pouring out. Pastors need time to recharge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so God ordained it in the days of creation. He not that he needed a break,
Mm-hmm.
but he set forth a pattern for us.
Sure.
I believe, whatever day it is, their Sabbath is actually Saturday.
Mhm.
But how many pastors take Saturday off?
Right.
Most time they're preparing for Sunday.
Right.
And so whether it's a Monday or a Tuesday or whatever, Fridays, I know a lot of pastors take Fridays off. Give your pastor time to recharge.
Yeah.
Where I actually was at a meeting one time, and this man said, for pastors, if your cell phone is on, you're not off.
Right.
He told him, turn
Hallelujah.
your your cell phone off. He said, because you're always on if your cell phone's on.
Yeah, sure.
He said, get to that place. And so first, give your pastor space to be a person, and then also to be your pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find he'll be a better pastor when he can be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that. And so first, let him be a person. We'll get in. We got a break coming up in just a minute.
Yeah.
We'll get into some more aspects on how you can support your pastor, what you can do to make sure that the vision is going forward. Make sure that your hands are put to the work to make the load easy. Many hands make the load easy. So we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll be talking about that too. And so it's good. I like this question.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a good question. So we're going to expound some more on it. I don't want to just touch it and try to move on. Jason, you really opened up a lot of potential information for people. So we're gonna answer some more and bring some more light to this subject when we come back right after this.
2014, another year has dawned. Have you made plans for the coming year? Are you ready to be more productive? Fire Moment wants to help you stay on task and complete what God has called you to do. When you stand with the ministry of Fire Moment with your best love gift, we will send you a 2-year pocket planner filled with scriptures and room to make notes. Get your 2-year pocket planner today by mailing your best seed to Fire Moment, P.O. Box 207, Briar Hill, Pennsylvania 15415, or by going to freshfirechurch.net. Have a blessed and prosperous new year from the ministry of Fire Moment.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. We're going to continue talking about this question today, which came to us, and this is what the question was, just as a recap. I see all that you do in your community, church, and other ministries that you lead. How do you do it? What can we do to support and help our pastor as sheep and even as leaders to the pastor? What should we keep in mind to serve and assist them? From Jason. So we were talking about, one, being sincere when we offer to help, two, understanding they're a person too, they're human. They do need downtime, and I think we have to understand that there's a time to approach, and then there's a time not to.
Mm-hmm.
And just because we're even in the building doesn't mean it's a time. Whether it's before service, after service, or it's through the week during business hours of the ministry, doesn't mean it's the opportunity, the time to deal with whatever it is that's going on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think so many times people approach us with things at the wrong time, and then if you say, look, I'll deal with this later, or not right now, or whatever, because there's something else going on, people get upset.
Right.
And I had a recent example of that. Just because I made a statement, one thing at a time. I'm only one person.
That's right.
And someone got highly offended, and they got to understand. Number one, it was the day. It was everything that was going on that day. It was, that let's just, to help you understand that, one, pastor's responsibility should be just preparing the word, being in the word and prayer. But anymore in today's society, pastors are administrators. Pastors are,
Counselors.
they have to oversee every aspect of the ministry. And while yes, we have to be the yes man or the no man, we also need to know that there are people around us and working in ministry with us, whatever capacity, that we can trust. Trust that it will be handled so that we can learn not to necessarily have to, look at it.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think we've got to just really realize and take a real inventory of all that they're going on. There are some pastors that they have enough help and enough leaders that it's not so bad.
Right.
They have a executive pastor and 2 lead pastors and then an assistant and 4 associates, and so in some churches, it depends on what your setup is like. It may be easier to approach, and there may, what have you. But for us on a given service day, we utilize armor bearers to try to protect me, because there for a while, people wanted to ask me questions. People wanted me to give them revelation. They wanted me to interpret their dream. They wanted me to do all this stuff on a Sunday morning or after. And I left here, like, for instance, last Sunday, just exhausted. I'd given everything I could in the message. I didn't have anything more really to give. And until you really preach and you give it all you have, people just don't understand. And many times the people in the chair just don't understand. They see that and they just see it as we were talking. But if it's a hard message, and I preached somewhere recently and I told the pastor when I was done, I said, I just feel like I got beat up. I said, what is wrong with your people? Because I went through so much spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And literally, when I left, my body hurt. And but besides that, there's so much, just for me, they see everything we do at Community Church, with our approach to people and there is so much, and it's a constant on the mind.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the times that I can just get to be me. I try to take Fridays off. Yeah, right. Because even on a Friday, my phone rings, I get text messages, I got emails, or a need comes up, and it's just like, but I long to be able to really and truly enjoy one day off, and I think when your pastor has that, we need to honor that.
Sure.
Honor that.
Sure, we do. I look at that, and I've seen pastors that, when I was growing up, the idea was that you are always on call, and that's what my dad told me. You're always on call, and I understand emergencies and stuff. I remember a situation when I had just started pastoring, where I had gotten up early in the morning. I was there an hour before anyone else got to church. I had preached, did everything I needed to do on a Sunday morning service, left there, went and ministered in the jail, because at that time I was a volunteer chaplain in a jail, ministered for 5 different services in a jail, then left there and went to a meeting, got home about 9 o'clock, and a lady in church that only showed up once every 4 months decided to call me.
Oh.
My response was, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. When I'm in the office, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. It was not a pressing issue. It was not life or death situation. I made sure of that. And I actually got in trouble for it. My overseer got mad at me for, why didn't you take that call? And I said, I've been on the run for 14 hours now.
Yeah.
I just got home. I had just sat down for my first meal of the day.
Yeah.
I hadn't even had a chance to eat that day. And I got in trouble for not doing that. And so old school ministry tells us that it doesn't matter when, honor your pastor.
I think too, because I think one of the things, and I've told our leaders, some of our ministers in a workshop, in today's society, we're able to be connected to in so many ways.
Yes.
And that I know for me, if it is in the late hour and I make the mistake of doing something on Facebook,
you're fair game.
It's over.
It's
over. Because, and I literally, I have to be a creeper. I do, if it's late, because if I don't, I get a text message or people call. I think we have to understand, again, they're human. And just because if I do something on Facebook, doesn't mean I'm open for business.
Right.
I'm sitting on my couch with my dog or with my cat, and, I'm winding down. And I know for me, and I've heard other pastors say that, I heard a very prominent pastor say, why won't people understand the fact that that's not even me tweeting? Because they're a TV figure. Yes. Do you really think T.D. Jakes is making his own tweets? I mean, but me, if I do that, Well, number one, it's never fails. If I do give a tweet instantly, four messages come through on Facebook, and then or a text, or my phone rings, and it's just like, and I told you, I said, you know what, I'm a prisoner in my own home
Yeah.
because you can't do it, and it's not even church people. It's just people who follow your ministry, or people who, they're like, wow, I talked to my pastor. I want to see if what you say at major
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's even that. It's just constant. And I think there's a time for business, and I'm just trying to get discipline. Number one, for example, last night I was sick and I just wasn't in a good way. I shut my phone off very early. I'm like, you know what, this is just, it's over. I've got to take care of me, and I did. And sometimes we just have to do that. Sometimes you just have to disconnect.
Absolutely.
And I think too, I've had to tell the people here in the church, and I had to set protocol. Listen, after a certain time of night, don't call. Or if you do, if it's an emergency, like, you're not going to get a response. Because there for a while it was like 11:30 at night, and my phone was ringing with phone calls, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I get up at 5:30 every day,
Right.
and so it's just understanding that. I think if we would have the mentality, not that someone's need isn't important, but that if you have a need, also know that every other person in that congregation has a need.
Sure.
And when and ministries change so much, like for us, like today, there's a whole team of people here, and there's needs more than just our congregation. You know what I mean? Our prayer requests and our followers on YouTube. So we're a pastor to much more people than what show up on a Sunday morning. And I think we have to understand that and ask ourselves, is what I'm dealing with, is it pressing? Like I can't interpret dreams. I can't. Well, I'm just saying, I can't interpret your dream. I can't give you an answer to your revelation. We can't. We can't always be a problem solver. And I think when we're not that instant gratification for people, that then people get upset because it's not the way it used to be. Church isn't. Pastors can't be the way it used to be because of all the resources we have to connect and to communicate and to pull and to do all this with. So I think we got to keep all that in mind.
Absolutely. I agree.
There's still a lot more.
And getting back, wrapping up his question, what you can do to support your pastor, treat him like a person, support the vision, take whatever talent you have and add it to your pastors, and be committed and consistent.
Yes.
Follow through with it. If you say, Pastor, I can do this, do it.
Yeah.
And that will relieve a burden from your pastor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Follow the vision, do whatever you can to make that vision of the pastor come to fruition, and just be there.
Yeah.
Be there, do whatever you can. And if you can't, be real and be honest and say, you know what, I can't.
Yeah.
You know what? And that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. There's so much more to this. I think we should do a series, or something more on this. But so there's a lot more to it. I believe we run over just by the we've run over a lot today. But listen, as you keep all this in mind, there's more to it. But we'll come back to this subject and answer your question more in depth and even more and do some teaching on it. But we appreciate your questions. We'll revisit some more tomorrow. We love you, friend. I hope that you're being ministered to through this. And until we see you tomorrow, may the fire of God consume your life. Bye-bye, friend.